Hello, welcome back to Adventures of Mommy. And real quick before I start this video, I'm going to apologize because I've got the boys down here doing tummy time and they're screeching, in case you did not just hear that. But in today's video, I am going to be sharing my birth story of the twins with you. So I went in on April 24th at 7:30 a.m. to be induced. And I get there, they do the vitals, they do everything. My blood pressure was a little bit high, so they gave me an extra blood pressure medication. So took that, relaxed. They gave me the oxytocin, the pitocin, all that good stuff. And I was just chilling, And then around, I want to say like 1 o'clock, like they were getting, my contractions were getting a little bit more consistent, a little bit more painful. So they decided that this would be a good time to give me my epidural and to up my pitocin. So they upped my pitocin first, and then the anesthesiologist came in and gave me my epidural. And we decided with the epidural to start off with like a slow drip, because when you get your epidural, the big bolo, it's the big huge dose that they give you like right away, that can sometimes dramatically drop your blood pressure. And since I was already on a blood pressure medication, they decided, maybe we should just start off slow and just do a slow drip. I wasn't in full-blown labor yet, so we thought I had time. So we all decided that that is something that I would do, is just do the slow drip. So I get that, I get my slow drip, the pitocin, all that good stuff, and it's like 1 o'clock and nothing's happened. So I send everyone downstairs to the cafeteria, my mom, my husband, everyone that was there. I send down to the cafeteria to go get some lunch because they are starving. As am I, but I can't eat. So I send everyone downstairs, and I kid you not, I swear, literally, as soon as they go downstairs, my mom said like she went through the line and like paid for her meal and everything. And then next thing you know, like I am in full-blown labor. Like I have so much pressure down there and it is insane. Like my contractions are back to back and it was a lot. So I get my phone and obviously I'm trying to call my husband and be like, yo, babe, you need to come up here right now because it's happening. Like, we gotta go. And for some reason, I had no service. I had no service. My phone wasn't working. I know, it's ridiculous. But, so finally, like, I called the nurse button, and I'm like, hey, will you give me that phone off the wall? I need to call my husband. Like, I'm in full-blown labor. And so they give me the phone, and I try calling my husband. And since the hospital came up as suspected spam, he wasn't answering. I know. And then I'm like, shoot, who else am I going to call? I'm like, my mom, of course. My mom, she always answers the phone no matter what. So I call her, and she picks it up, and I'm like, send Matt up here now. I'm in labor. And so she's like, oh my gosh. And hurry up, rushes up there. Like, they throw away their brand new bought-in food, and they hurry up, run upstairs, and by the time they get there, the nurses and everything are gowning me up. They're putting the hairnet on and all that, because at my hospital, when you are a mom of multiples, you're automatically delivering in the OR, just in case anything comes up. So I had to go to the OR. So Matt had to get all gowned up. I had to get all gowned up. All the nurses, the doctors, everyone was gowned up. And so as they're gowning me up, like I'm like trying to hold this baby in. And Matt comes up, he's hurry up and getting gowned up, and we get to the OR, and I kid you not, as soon as we get there, like, I feel Henry, he was baby A, Henry coming out, and I'm like, no, and all the nurses are like, you better not be pushing, you better be holding, your doctor's, excuse me, your doctor's not here yet, you better hold on, and I'm like, I'm trying, like, I don't know what else you want from me. So I'm just holding him in, and finally my doctor gets there, and no lie, he was a tad bit mad because we had a plan that with my epidural, I would have all of the epidural before giving birth to the boys, because he was gonna have to go in and grab baby B, so Gavin, and pull him out because he was breech. He was not head down like Henry was. So he was gonna have to go in there, grab his ankles, and pull him down, and then I was gonna have to push from there. So with only about 15 minutes of my epidural and it being a slow drip, I felt everything. Okay, so he was like, no, we need to get her with lidocaine, we need to get the big bolo of epidural, like we need to get this going. And so they do all that. They give me the huge amounts of lidocaine, huge amounts of epidural, and it's time to push. I kid you not, like maybe 3-4 pushes, Henry was out. Like he was down there. Like when the nurses checked me before we went to the OR, like she checked me and was like, I'm not that much in, and I can feel his head. And I'm like, okay, yeah. And so I push baby A, Henry, out, and then it was time for Gavin. And so my doctor, he goes in there, he grabs Gavin's ankles and pulls him down. And I'm going to remind you that I'm in the OR. There's none of the OR lights or anything, but one of the OR lights is like pointing down in that wonderful, beautiful area. And I can kind of watch what's going on from the reflection of that not on OR light. And so I'm like pushing and I'm pushing, and since I had so much lidocaine and so much epidural, like I cannot feel, I have no idea what's going on down there. And everyone's just like push, 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 and I'm pushing. But I already pushed out a baby, let me remind you. So I'm a bit exhausted, and I'm pushing and I'm pushing and I'm pushing, and I'm like, I get to a point where I'm like, I don't think I can push him out. And they're like, he's so close. Like I look up in the OR light and I can see him, Gavin, I can see his head still inside, but the rest of his body was out. So like that was like, I had to like go, like it's like, come on, it's game time, push, 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 push. And so I did. I pushed, push, 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 but nothing happened. I was so numb, like I didn't know exactly what I was pushing, what I was doing, or anything. And so finally my doctors decided that it's time to get the forceps. So he gets the forceps, and it was so scary. When he went to go get the forceps, he let go of Gavin. So his head is still inside of me, and the rest of his body is out. So with the reflection of that OR light, that was Gavin. I can still see, he's so funny. I can still see the reflection, and it terrified me to just see my doctor just whoop, let go of him and turn around, go get the forceps and whatnot, because Gavin was like dangling from his head. No one was holding him, nothing. My down there area, trying to keep this PG for YouTube, that downstairs area was the only thing holding him. And so my doctor, he turns around and he gets the forceps, gets Gavin, and Henry came out crying. He was crying. He was, he did his thing. But Gavin, he was not. And he was kind of like bluish. And when I saw that, it was like, I'm getting chills right now. It was terrifying. Like, I was so scared. And, so, like, I'm like, how is he? Like, obviously I know he's not good, but I felt like I had to ask. Like, I don't know if you know, because I'm not sure if you've gone through it, but if you have, girls, women, you know. Like, you have to ask. It's one of those things that you just have to do. So, yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, how is he? Like, he's not crying. Like, what's going on? And they immediately just took him away. Like, they took him and Henry out of the OR. And all of a sudden, like, I was so focused on Gavin and Henry and what was going on with them that I didn't realize, like, myself, like, I started to lose consciousness. Like, I ended up losing a lot of blood, and all of a sudden, like, I'm just laying there, and I'm like, I'm not feeling so good. And the nurses are like, what do you mean you're not feeling so good? And I'm like, everything, like, my ears are drowning out, like, I'm starting not to be able to see, like, I'm feeling just, like, so tired, like, I don't, like, it's hard to explain, but I don't feel like I'm awake anymore. Like, I kind of felt like I was, like, in this dream. And so they're like, oh my gosh, like, her blood pressure's tanking, her O2's tanking, like, we need to help her out. And the nurse that put in my first IV, I guess, put it into a dead vein. I'm not sure what that is, but that's what they told me, is she put it into a dead vein. So they were struggling to find a new good vein, but since my blood pressure was so low already, my veins were like tiny. They were like noodles, like they couldn't get them. So when I woke up, I had like 12 puncture marks on my hands, my arms, everything, because they were like poking and just trying to find a vein. Come on. Happy? But yeah, and so that was pretty insane. So yeah, I had like all the 12 puncture marks and everything. And Henry. And yeah, so, and one of the things I remember hearing was like, why is this not plugged in? And in my head I was like, are you serious? Something in the OR is not plugged in? Like, everything should be hooked up, ready to go to be used in an emergency, like, short notice. Like, it needs to be like that. And it wasn't plugged in, I guess. And so my condition got so bad that they actually ended up kicking my husband out of the OR. Like, they were like, how about you just go with the babies? We need all hands on deck to work on your wife. And so, yeah, it was a lot. There was a ton of doctors, a ton of nurses, a ton of everything. And it was a lot. But then I get out of the OR and everything, and I'm able to return to my room. So they wheel me back into my room, and like, I am uncontrollably shaking. Like I'm not sure if you've ever had the uncontrollable shakes, but it was like my whole body, like, and I didn't really feel cold, but I was like constantly shaking. Like, my jaw was even like, like, it was a lot. And so, But so that was going on and everything, and everyone was just helping me out. What, cutie, what? Sorry, they're so distracting. They're so cute, huh? So cute. But yeah, like I was uncontrollably shaking. My doctor, so I didn't need a blood transfusion, because obviously they try and not do that unless you're like dying. Luckily all I needed was like a huge, like it was like this big and like this wide IV of iron, because iron is what helps rebuild those red blood cells. So I still had enough that they thought I was going to be able to make more red blood cells. So they gave me a ton of iron so I can do that. And it worked. I, got back to my regular levels. Everything was fine. And Henry, he's so noisy. I'm not sure if you can hear him. But yeah, that's pretty much my story. Other than that, like in the hospital stay, Gavin was fine. They did have Henry and Gavin did have regular checks of their glucose levels because they were pretty low. But if they could get them up on their own, then they wouldn't have to go to the NICU. That was really the only thing that they were thinking was going to send them to the NICU was their glucose levels, because they were both a little over 5 pounds. They were able to regulate their temperature very well, and like their O2 and all that. Like, Henry quit doing that. It was all good. So pretty much they were only worried about the glucose. They're only worried about the glucose and silly boy. But with Henry, I'm not sure if you guys have had to do this, but I guess since they were such a low weight that they had to have a car seat test before they left the hospital, which is they're sitting in their car seats and they're hooked up to all these like tethers and machines to like keep track of like their heart rate and their oxygen and all their vitals. And Gavin, this little man, passed with flying colors, but Henry, his O2 kept dropping drastically. So they were like, we're probably gonna have to keep him until that could not be the case anymore, or they were gonna have to prescribe us like a laying down car seat. It was very interesting the way they were describing it, but pretty much it was like a flat car seat. Like it was just like flat plastic with straps on it. So then, because I guess the problem was that his head was too heavy and his neck was so weak, of course, because he was a brand new baby. And hi. But he kept just, and that would like cut off his oxygen kind of. And so they were like, we either need to do that or we need to figure something else out. And we all came to the conclusion that we would get like a rag or like a muslin blanket or a swaddle or something, and we would roll it up and then just, can you let go of my hand? Let go of my hand. And then we would just like kind of put it around his head to support it, so then he wasn't like falling forward like that or to the side. And so, sorry, haven't finished my coffee yet. Twin moms, you know coffee is life. But yeah, other than that, they were really good. The pediatrician, there was a lot of interesting stuff with the pediatrician because he wanted the boys to eat like they were brand new newborn babies, like full term, which was like eating a whole ounce before they left the hospital. And these guys were not full term babies. They were born at 37 weeks. And all the nurses kind of thought it was weird that he was like, yeah, they need to be eating a full ounce before leaving the hospital. And so, like, we tried, kind of not so great, but we pretty much, like, force fed Henry because he wasn't doing it. Like, so, like, literally, like, every 5 minutes we were giving him a bottle, like, eat, 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 eat. Because he was like, it doesn't matter how long it takes him, as long as it's within an hour, he needs to eat a whole ounce. Oh, I have another baby screaming. Here, Gabby, you sit. They're getting so good at sitting. And Henry. Okay. But, yeah. So, Henry, but we had to, like, force feed him, like, a whole ounce within an hour before we were discharged, and we made it. So the pediatrician was like, okay, we can discharge you guys. So pretty much we got discharged and went home, and that was that. So once again, I want to thank you all for watching and coming to Adventures of Mommy with my beautiful baby boys. This is Henry, and this is Gavin, and we love having you here with us. Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment down below, and I will see you guys next week.